So we're on the island of Philae at the dynastic Egyptian temple of Isis. This is actually a reconstruction. When they created the Aswan High Dam, I forget when that was, this temple was going to wind up being submerged underwater because of the dam and the creation of what is now Lake Nasser. And so they literally took the whole temple apart and shipped it to its present location on the island of Philae. And it's an amazing example of how people can, in a respectful way, take something ancient apart and put it back together. So the Aswan area, which is where we are, has possibly the largest deposit of granite stone anywhere in Egypt, and especially dynastic Egypt. But this whole temple is made out of sandstone, and the sandstone is from about 20 miles away. So the question is, if the dynastic Egyptians carved granite, then why didn't they simply use granite in order to make this construction? The reason is because they didn't have the technology to shape granite, so they had to use sandstone, which they could manipulate and alter with their bronze chisels. Also notice that the columns are made out of sections like this, maybe 2 feet high. And the curious thing is that there are granite pillars in Egypt which are made out of one piece. Granite is much harder, and the fact that they're made out of one piece and the granite is much harder honestly tells us, and they are even agreed by archaeologists and Egyptologists to be from an older time period, but they think it's dynastic. But since the Egyptians did not have the technology to be able to shape granite in a fine manner, then that also tells us that those granite pillars could very well be much, much, much older and made by a culture that had lost ancient high technology.
Since the time of Ramses II. All the time, Ramses II did this.
Yes, Ramses II came in here and actually worked.
He did. Ramses did.
The inscription here on the walls.
Ramses did. Ramses II did. Yes. His name was Ramses II. Ramses the third. Ramses the fourth.
So that stone that people were making the chanting by touching is called, and was called, the Holy of Holies. It is the very end of this temple and is made out of granite. So whereas the rest of the construction is all sandstone, the symbolism of granite was used in the so-called Holy of Holies, which is the highest point, the deepest point of the temple. The symbolism, I don't know what that is, but again, what we do know is that the much older builders in Egypt, before the dynastic Egyptians ever appeared, who did the massive megalithic constructions, only used super hard stone, much harder than sandstone, such as granite, basalt, and quartzite, in order to make all of their constructions. And those stones I just spoke of, granite, quartzite to some degree, but also basalt, react very well with sound, with acoustics. So it's quite possible that the super ancient builders of ancient Egypt were constructing their temples for some kind of energetic or acoustic purpose. We're still trying to figure out what exactly they were doing. The problem is we don't even know how they did the work in the first place, because some of the technology that would have had to have been employed to do their work in these hard materials is literally beyond present 21st century technology.